Hey, good morning. Happy Wednesday. We are halfway through the week. Thanks for joining us here on the Kare 11 app. I'm meteorologist Courtney Aitken, joined by meteorologist Dery.
Does it feel like summer is just flying by right now?
Absolutely. I
mean, what is it, the 29th today? It is July 29th. We're just a couple of days away from the start of August. And I feel like once you get beyond the 4th of July, you're like, okay, you know, most of summer is planned out. Not much else is going to happen. Do you feel that same way?
Yeah, I do actually, and I keep on forgetting that we're so close to August. In my mind, we're still in mid-June, and I don't know why that is. It just feels that way.
It must be like because of the high heat and the smoky days that we've had. It's like, okay, let's get beyond this so we can get back to the nicer days.
Right.
You know, and I will say August is a fan favorite for a reason, not just because of the state fair, but because some of the nicest weather of the entire year happens to be in the month of August. We're just a couple of days away from that, so looking forward to it. And yes, we do have very comfortable days in the forecast. Once we get beyond the heat, hopefully the sky will clear out a little bit more so we can see more blue in that sky. That looks to be the forecast later this weekend and beyond.
Yeah, just a couple of hiccups with heat, rain, storm chances, but beyond that, looking really nice. So if you have weekend plans, good for you. If you don't have weekend plans, make them, because it looks like it's going to be a really good one.
Yeah, probably one of the nicest weekends of the year, seriously, is this upcoming weekend. We're talking mid to upper 80s for highs, very summer-like, reasonable humidity. I mean, not that soupy stuff that we had to start off the week with. We're talking upper 50s, low 60s for dew points. The wind should be relatively light, and again, sunshine throughout. So basically, get outside this weekend if you have a chance. But before we get there, we do have some showers and some potentially heavy rain to get with as well. Kind of a conditional threat. Here's our radar satellite composite. No big chance for rain today. However, that being said, I believe we saw this yesterday evening. An isolated shower can't be ruled out, especially once we get into the peak daytime heating hours between, say, 4 o'clock and 6 o'clock, maybe 7 o'clock this evening. A spotty shower, but the vast majority of us are likely going to stay dry. Yeah,
just those little pop-ups. It's kind of like if you see one, if you get some of that rain, you're real lucky, because 99% of people will be dry today, but we can't rule out one of those little afternoon pop-up summer showers. Otherwise, for everybody else, it's just going to be another hot and muggy day. We do have that haze. If you look outside, you can probably see it, a little bit of that milky sky again from those Pacific Northwest wildfires. A lot of that haze is elevated, so that's why our air quality has managed to stay good to moderate both today and yesterday.
Have you seen the moon, by the way? The moon is full today. I believe it's a full moon at 9 o'clock this morning, but have you seen it?
I saw it this morning, or shall we say last night, when I woke up for work. So I was like 1:15 or something. I went outside and I was like, wow, that's a big moon.
Yeah, super bright, right?
Yeah.
And the clear sky is allowing us to see that. So full moon today. If your kids are acting out today, well, that's probably why there's a full moon.
Blame it on the moon.
And the main headline that we're watching is potentially a wet end to the week with some slow-moving thunderstorms and some heavy rain possible. We're talking overnight Thursday into Friday, although we could see a couple of thunderstorms by mid-afternoon on Thursday as well across parts of western Minnesota. Doesn't look like a huge deal for us, and we always say in the weather department, when in drought, don't predict rain.
Sure.
Because you get people's hopes up. They're like, hey, I don't have to water my lawn, and then all of a sudden it doesn't rain. So
yeah, and then when it does rain, I'm driving to work and people's sprinklers are on, and I'm like, well, shoot.
That's what happens. So we have that heat advisory for some parts of Minnesota and Wisconsin. This is for areas that tend to not get super hot during the summer regardless. Heat advisory for the Arrowhead, the Iron Range, the Hayward Lakes area until 7 p.m. tonight. The heat index up to 90 degrees, so it's kind of a low-hanging fruit heat index. We've been at that level here in the Twin Cities pretty much every day this summer. So,
and we'll do it again today.
Yeah, we just haven't hit our threshold for hitting the heat index, which I believe is like temperature of, I think heat index 100 or warmer and temperature of 96 or something like that or higher. Whatever it is, we're not going to hit that threshold today. Again, hot and hazy, isolated pop-up showers. 92 is our forecast high. I think that's going to be like the 16th day so far this year of hitting 90 degrees or warmer.
Yeah, that sounds right. So we are tallying those up, like it or not. A couple more. So today, tomorrow, and then look at Friday. We're dropping by almost 10 degrees. So what happens is we have those storms that form out to the west Thursday afternoon, and those initial few first clusters of storms, those will have the greatest potential to be a little bit more aggressive, so strong to severe. Even then, the severe potential is just a marginal. That's a level 1, but it is something to watch. They'll also be slow moving, so that's why the weather impact alert isn't on Thursday. That's why Thursday's not red. We don't start this weather impact alert until midnight, headed into your Friday morning, because it probably will be after midnight that these storms actually move into the Twin Cities. But once they do, they will drop some rounds of heavy rain, so your Friday morning commute, I think that should warrant some extra time for sure.
Yeah, and you can see the clouds and the threat for rain will keep our temperatures cooler, and 82 might be a bit on the higher side. I wouldn't be surprised if many of us stayed in the 70s, and I don't think we've had a 70-degree day in the month of July, if you can believe that. I think all of our days have been 80 degrees or warmer. So yes, it will be kind of a shock to the system. We get into the weekend, we clear all that rain out. It is comfortable outside. We're talking 80s for highs, mostly sunny skies. It looks like we still will probably see a touch of that wildfire smoke, but it's all elevated and it's from wildfires that are over 1,000 miles away. So it's not going to have an impact on our air quality, and that nice weather will continue through the first full week of August, which 29th, 30th, 31st. So Saturday is August 1st. And then, we move on from there. So
boy, that is hard to believe. Yeah, State Fair right around the corner.
Oh boy.
'Tis the season. All right, you can see from our sky cam, the blue sky is there, I promise, because I was in the backyard all morning. And if you look up, you can see the blue sky. It's just it's almost like you have a layer of wax paper.
Yeah.
And you're looking at it through that.
I can see that. If you're outside, if you look straight up, you'll be able to see more blue sky. But as your eyes get closer to the horizon, you're looking through more of the atmosphere, more of that smoky layer. And that's why it looks kind of that milky color as you get closer to the horizon. That's also why our sunrises and sunsets have had a lot more color to it. As Courtney mentioned, this is all elevated or mostly elevated wildfire smoke. Our air quality right now, between good and moderate, kind of where we've been most of this week. We do not expect any major dips in our air quality. These wildfires are burning mainly out in the Pacific Northwest. There's a couple of big ones out in Oregon right now. And because we're in this slow-moving weather pattern, we're still going to deal with the hazy skies over the next couple of days. So air quality is slightly tinged, but it's not going to be a big impact as we head forward, which is good news.
Yeah, that is good news. Don't expect anything unhealthy, so to speak. As we get into this evening, you can see it does look a little bit dicey almost if you're looking up towards Duluth, Grand Rapids, Brainerd. Even then, I think that most of it is, like we have been saying, a little bit more elevated. So air quality shouldn't take too much of a hit, but you definitely will notice those kind of red skies.
Yeah, and hopefully we don't see too big a flare up with the wildfires up in the boundary waters. They're starting to get a little more containment on some of those larger fires, which is some good news. We heard the news yesterday that they're opening up overnight camping in parts of the boundary waters, especially the Gunflint Trail in the Tofty area. So that's good news. Hopefully the high temperatures today don't have a big impact on any additional flare-ups. And it looks like for the most part the forecast does bode well for fighting those wildfires. The humidity is still rather low. We don't have a whole lot of rain chances, but it doesn't look like it'll be super hot or super windy over the next few days, which is good news.
That's a plus, yeah. And the air up there is dry. I mean, their dew points this morning were in the 50s. So it was definitely cooler, drier start to the day for the Boundary Waters area, the Arrowhead. But looking at the model runs, I was more focused on storms for the Twin Cities, but it does look like there'll be some passing rain for that area over the next 48 hours. So that's a plus also.
All right, this is a live look from our VAC TV camera at the Water Street Inn in downtown Stillwater. And your forecast for today, nice day for a walk. You can see a light southerly breeze that's working its way up the St. Croix River right now. But overall, if you're heading out to the lift bridge today, you can expect temperatures in the 80s through about early afternoon. We'll graze into the lower 90s after about 3 o'clock. Warmest part of the day between about 3 and 7 o'clock. That's when we'll be in near 90 degrees. Heat index value may be a couple degrees higher than that in the mid 90s. Nothing oppressive, nothing we haven't dealt with at least a half a dozen times so far this season. Looks like a pretty decent day to be outside. So enjoy it. I think today's going to be a nice summer day.
Yeah, just on the warm end of a summer day. Warm, muggy, and a touch hazy. The rain and storms that we've been talking about, those return Thursday night into Friday. If you're in western Minnesota, even places like Alexandria, Rain chances will begin as early as Thursday afternoon, but for the Twin Cities, our emphasis is really on Friday morning, especially if you're an early riser, an early commuter. But once we get through all that, a really nice weekend is ahead of us.
Yeah, and because these storms are forecast to be kind of slow moving, the timing of which is always in question. So just because we're saying a wet morning commute doesn't mean that those storms couldn't linger a little bit later into the day on Friday. This is your forecast for today. Notice the heat building out west where the warmest temperatures in the state are expected. Most of us in the lower to middle 90s today, even up towards International Falls, 90 degrees. So yeah, it'll be a toasty one today. Humidity will be on the muggier side as well, but we'll start that cooling trend once we get into tomorrow. We'll probably see clouds increasing later in the afternoon. And then it looks like, again, once we get into the weekend, we're done with the 90s for a while. I mean, still seasonably warm, mid to even upper 80s, but I don't see this big time summer heat returning for a while.
Yeah, which is good. I know that people are getting burnt out on it, like no pun intended. I know that people are getting a little bit tired of it, but hey, if you're planning on heading out to the game tonight, or maybe you don't have tickets, you could grab them. I think that they're probably still available. First pitch is at 6:40. It's much better than it being at 1 o'clock on a day like this. It will still be warm during the game. You'll have a light breeze out of the south, but something that I was thinking about is something that Jamie always says is there's not a single bad view at that ballpark, right? So if you're sitting there around 7, 8 o'clock and you have a great vantage point wherever you're sitting, I think that the one benefit of the haze is it should be a really nice sunset. You'll have a nice view.
Well, there you go. One thing to note too is when you, I, and all the other Kare meteorologists went to Target Field for Twins Weather Day, we got to present to about 1,000 kids to talk about weather. We got a chance to go there. This was in like mid-May. You remember that?
Yeah, it was a really nice day.
It was a nice day, but it was still kind of like cool. And, those early days at the ballpark, especially here in April or early May, you're like, let's wait until summer. Let's wait until the nicer days before we, really flock to the ballpark. You look at days like this, it's about as nice as it gets.
Yeah.
So I would really recommend, if you've been waiting to go to a Twins game, kind of now's your time.
Yeah, it's going to be a great evening for it. Looking back on that day, I'm now thinking about it. I remember that morning I put on jeans and a t-shirt and I was thinking for a bit, maybe I won't need a jacket, and then I was so glad that I brought it, because even in direct sunlight, you get the breeze going in mid-May, like it's a little bit chilly.
And
but
hop
tonight,
in the shade. And
tonight's no complaints at Target Field.
Shorts and t-shirt.
Yep.
Let's talk about that weather impact alert. So this is for the potential for some heavy rounds of rain, with the main emphasis from midnight until noon on Friday. This could have an impact on your morning commute. If you have any outdoor events planned, just have a plan B, because some of those storms could be, again, on the heavier side. Because we haven't seen any real widespread rain lately, I think the flooding risk is pretty low, which is good news. But if we do see some training thunderstorms, we could probably see some pockets of 2-3 inches of rain that could lead to some brief urban flooding. Maybe some poor drainage areas could see some of that happening briefly. But again, the ground is pretty dry. I think it's going to soak up this rain pretty well.
Yeah, I think it's mostly going to be those urban environments where we see the excess water, which is why we're just stressing that Friday morning commute, just take it easy. So Thursday afternoon, that's when all of the action picks up to our west. And there's been a slight change in this outlook from the Storm Prediction Center. You can see Grand Marais and the Arrowhead now included, but the Twin Cities still not in on this, because as we've been saying, these are going to be slow-moving storms, so they're going to develop out to the west, Alexandria, Ortonville, Marshall, Moorhead. You can expect storms Thursday afternoon, but they're not going to meander into the Twin Cities until a little bit later. But when they do, they'll drop some heavy rainfall. So that's why we have the level 2 out of 4 for excessive rain.
Yeah, these are slightly elevated risk areas for the potential for flash flooding. But again, because we haven't had a whole lot of rainfall, I think it's kind of a minor threat, but still training thunderstorms, 2-3 inches of rain is certainly possible. But I think a lot of us are probably looking at that 1 to 2 inch rainfall total. So as far as the timing goes, today, just hot, humid, and hazy. Thursday, the storms develop mainly across western Minnesota for the afternoon and evening, with a marginal severe weather risk, and then rounds of some heavy rain possible, mainly early Friday through lunchtime, and then we'll dry out as we head into the evening hours, and it looks like we'll stay rain-free as we head into the upcoming weekend. Here's the rest of that 7-day forecast. You can see the coolest day is on Friday, with a threat for rain and clouds brightening up as we head into the upcoming weekend.
Yeah, make those weekend plans for sure because it looks like it's going to be absolutely stunning. Friday plans, just be flexible. It looks like we will be dry by Friday night.